makes no sense. But when I went to the theater, they already, and this was Tuesday, so 2 days ago, they already had the sort of fake Wheaties box with New Avengers written on it.
Yeah.
So even before I walked in the theater, I'm like, oh well, there it is.
I'm glad you're messaging. Sorry, I'm glad you're discussing sort of the new messaging for the film, because I have a fun video that I want to share. That there's Sebastian Stan. He happens to walk by and notice. Oh, well, that's unfortunate that it still says Thunderbolts. Boy, that guy's got a great head of hair. I don't know what I'm doing. This is the internal monologue for Sebastian Stan. But honestly, for me too. I mean, I have a decent amount of hair, but I don't have Sebastian Stan hair. And
Christian, I think you're before and I'm after, it looks like.
yeah, that's right. Sebastian Stan isn't just the president. He's also a client. And there he is, rolling it out. And for those of us who are Burbank residents, we were very excited to see this, because just yesterday I went over to that sign, and I also took my picture with it. That's the one with Red Guardian, which is on the other side of it. And I haven't prepared these images the way I wanted to, but there I am with Bucky. It's reversed. I'd have to do a whole thing, but you get it. So yeah, that's literally down the street from my house. It's across from the Disney lot that Sebastian Stan was putting those signs up. And while they have done that, there's a lot more Lilo and Stitch stuff on that street now than New Avengers. I think that it's kind of a fun reveal, and we kind of know. And Ahmad saying Thunderbolt's the best. Here's a hot take. U.S. Agent is the best. Now, we talked about this in the earlier episode, and this is specifically a character I want to talk to everybody about. First of all, Wyatt Russell, tremendous on the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV series, because he was incredibly unlikable, but he was supposed to be. And then you just realize, like, oh, he's great, and I'm going to reuse a joke from an earlier conversation, which is any room he walks into, it doesn't matter who's there, he's automatically the biggest D-bag in the room. And it's just John Walker can't help himself. But I thought he was great in this, in the way that, like, he's a little bit more likable, but I thought it was a great performance and all of that. I'm going to start again with you, Ryan, because I know you've got 9 minutes. See, I'm being
You're keeping me on time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm trying. I don't want those kids to be late.
That's right. Yeah, and I love how, like, the movie just dove head into that he's a D-bag, and it almost reminds me of, like, when you have wrestling heels and people are like, well, I don't like him. You're not supposed to, that's what he's playing it up. Yeah. But they still give a little bit of moment where you can see there's something in there. I love at the beginning in the room how he's the last to figure it out, and he still thinks maybe he's actually on a mission and everybody else in the room isn't. But we see the flashback of him with his daughter before we find out that his wife would eventually leave him and everything. The constant jokes about him being the Temu Captain America, all that kind of stuff.
It's very nice.
So the movie does a great job, and they also do this with Ghost as well, which I'm sure we'll get into. But just building character and building their story in such little moments. Like, they're so efficient with the time that they're on screen and with the lines they deliver to kind of give them something instead of just letting them exist in the background. And I feel like, yeah, he builds on everything we saw in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He continues to kind of and makes himself a very viable asset going forward into whatever we got going on in the Avengers films, where, I imagine he'll be there and people will want him to be there now.
Yeah. Again, because of your busy schedule, talk a little bit about Ghost, how, Ghost was a fairly inconsequential character from Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's not even Quantumania. Like, it's 2 Ant-Man movies ago, So what did you think about what we got from her? And were you as surprised as I was, Ryan, that she was in the whole movie and that she didn't maybe die in her second scene, to get a little bit more screen time than...
Yeah. I think it simply comes down to kind of 3 moments that I felt kind of all of her characterization was built up in. And 2 of them happened really quickly in the beginning when she phases through the door and lets them out. And they're like, "Oh, you came back for us." And it's not really, I can't get the elevator going.
Yeah.
And then there's shortly after that, there's another moment where it seems like she's, when she picks him up in the truck, and everyone's like, "Oh, you came back for us." No, there's a bunch of guards. I need you guys to get me out. And you're like, okay. And then in the finale of the film, she comes back, and it's not because she needs them. She comes back because, this is her found family or whatever they've established. It means something to her. And she comes back solely because she wants to. And that's combined maybe a minute and a half of screen time. And they told a story about her particular character just in those little moments. And they established kind of this relationship she has with Yelena. But again, it was a really efficient use of time to build her up. And it was funny to see at the end, when in the post-credit scene, when they all come in with their fancy new, marketing team approved gear with their new hairdos, that she's there. And that's when it hit me. Like, I don't know if I would have bet that at the end of this movie, Ghost would be a new Avenger, but here we are.
By the way, I just want you all to know, I did try to get us 5 of those matching David Harbour jumpsuits, but they're not here yet. They were going to be on a container ship out of China, so I think we might be waiting.
Now it'll cost you double.
We might be waiting until Doomsday or Secret Wars. Christina, what did you because I thought that Ghost kind of gave me the impression like, she's just going to go through the wall and never come back. I actually thought that's the way she was going to be gone. I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. We're surprised that we got her so much in this film.
Okay, so listen, I'm not trying to be a Negasaurus, but I'm going to be, because it's who I am.
Please. No, it's good.
So part of me, I had all the same thoughts where I was like, oh, we haven't seen this woman in a hot minute, and she wasn't really a lead character. And then part of me was like, is Marvel trying scraping for any sort of representation that they're like, all right, who do we got that's already established, that's a woman that we could bring back? Because realistically, it's just her and Florence Pugh. So otherwise, there's nobody else to sort of lead it along. So that's a cynical part of me. The other part of me is like, they all are varying levels of douchebag to some capacity. Like that's sort of their default setting. Yeah. And I think a lot of it comes from self-preservation, like, well, if I show that I'm strong, then nobody will mess with me, sort of thing. And I think she's a really good character for that thing, because she essentially was like abused her entire life. Yeah. And so who better to bring back in the mental health sort of conversation movie than the woman whose literal entire existence was built around being held captive and tortured and all that stuff. So she's not huge, but I think they selected well. And she also has a really cool skill set that I'm sure they could use later.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And in the chat, the Jonathan London saying, "You 5 are my Thunderbolts." Thank you.
Thunderbolts.
Yeah. But by the way, Thunderbolts with a Z, just because I want to make sure that we don't step on any toes. Thank you. I am Taskmaster, so that's why I am going to disappear right now. So Ryan, I want to thank you for carving out a little time, and I look forward to chatting with you a little bit later. Actually, 2 hours from now, we'll be talking about Andor episodes 7, 8, and 9 right here on Geekscape. So, and I don't know how old your kids are, but this seems like a great time. Why don't you swing by Skyline Chili on the way home? Get them like a plan. I think everybody just needs a gigantic chili spaghetti. So please do that.
Perfect. Sounds great. Thank you all for having me on. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about some insane episodes of Andor later. And I'll leave you all with this. Do we think they stay the new Avengers, or are they eventually going to become the Dark Avengers? I'll leave you all with that.
Okay. That's a good question.
Thank you, Ryan.
All
right. And that's a great question. I don't actually know the answer. What do you think, Katie?
Go ahead, Eric.
Now, well, I was going to say also that thing at the end that Sam's suing them over the name.
Yeah.
When did Sam become a litigious little bee?
Well, ever since he tussled with the banker.
It all circles back.
Understandably.
Yeah,
and Bucky was there for that too. So
I think they're all going to be Avengers. There's the idea of West Coast Avengers, Dark Avengers. We're going to get Young Avengers. Where we're going to get so many different varieties we'll get a supersized Avengers. I'm not, we'll get so many. Too Fast, Two Vengers. Look, it's all going to happen. It's all happening now. I wanted to kind of circle back, though, and talk about Wyatt Russell as John Walker, a.k.a. U.S. agent. And now Eric's the one who's on a time crunch. He's got 31 minutes before he has to,
one by one, we all disappear. We all blip.
I know. Yeah. Each of us should have like the 24 clock from the TV show 24.
Yeah. Just everybody's just going to pop off at some point.
Yeah. At some point. Yeah. At some point, Eric is going to be taskmastered. But what did you think, Eric, about getting to spend some more time with John Walker?
I think they used him perfectly, and I think so much of this, and this really was very close to, is the sequel the one with the Suicide Squad, or is it just regular Suicide Squad? I don't remember.
The Suicide Squad is the James Gunn one, yeah.
Okay. So it had that kind of a lot of the bones of that, including, by the way, I'm not going to say who, but the Suicide Squad, a couple of them don't make it past the opening scene. And so I think it was very smart right away to say, oh, no, these guys, like, they can die. They are actually expendable in ways.
No, that's a different movie franchise entirely.
A better franchise. I'm sorry, you're right. One that deserves another 7 sequels at least.
I'm with you.
But I think they got a lot out of that character, considering he's a bit of adult. He's definitely the dimmest bulb in any room he's in as well. But they use that to good effect. And I think it kind of, weirdly enough, his mask, like the fact that his mask just doesn't look good.
No.
Like, he's a handsome dude. I mean, listen, you get Kurt Russell blood, that means you're going to get great hair and great cheekbones and a chin. Like, you're going to be handsome. Sorry, Nepo baby, you got born into a real shit end of the lottery. But
yeah, then you know what? I'm going to poke a hole in that. Explain Dakota Johnson.
I mean, listen, Madam Web was tough. All right. She's lucky she survived.
She's
that.
Still pretty.
Okay? She is incredibly pretty.
Damn it, Christina! Stop complicating things with the facts.
She's a survivor, Christian. She's a survivor of.
But honestly, right? It is such a mind f to watch the kids of people movies you watched growing up, and they're actual adults that are probably in their late 20s, early 30s, and I'm like, that's nuts. Like, I never felt so old as watching Lewis Pullman and being like, oh my gosh, Independence Day, giving a speech, that's his face. It was so crazy.
Right. Yeah. So, and there was all those moments where I kept looking back and forth. I'm like, now I want to see a movie with Kurt Russell and Bill Pullman. I want that to pop up at some point.
Well, yes, so we did get the Nepo Avengers, and I'm just going to I'm going to let you finish your thought, but you were talking about strong cheekbones, and it's a perfect time to introduce our friend Cruz, who is joining us. Thank you for being here. When Ryan Campbell steps out, Cruz joins us, and Cruz, we'll get to you in a moment. I just didn't want to keep you waiting backstage for too long. Eric, finish your thoughts on John Walker, the U.S. agent, aka Team of Captain America.
And also I love the joke of Junior Varsity Captain America. I thought was also dead on. I think they resisted the urge to then give him a pet the puppy kind of moment. Like, he's kind of an ass for pretty much the whole film. But you also realize, just like all of them, they're the walking wounded, and so he's lost his wife and his kid, and we're not surprised by that. I do love kind of the casual throwaways to plot points from other shows, like, well, you did kill a man in cold blood using the shield. Yeah. And he's like, well, he wasn't that innocent. And it's kind of a perfect exchange for him where, he thought he was towing the party line, and then the line got moved on him without his knowing it. So I think they're really smart about what sort of role he played in this bigger picture. And they didn't try to make him super likable. And I think that was the right move. And he's a likable enough performer that he's not hateable. And I think that's a real trick, because they don't necessarily write him warm and cuddly scenes, and yet maybe again it's our love of Kurt Russell just exudes everywhere. So we sort of say, okay, well, but we want to love you, even if we shouldn't love you.
Thank you for joining us, Cruz. And
Hey, Cruz.
what are some of your big thoughts on Thunderbolts? And we'll move into talking about John Walker with you as well, Wyatt Russell's character. But what are your overall thoughts, Cruz?
It brought up so many feelings about how we fight our inner demons. And it was less about, it felt less about fighting an outside force versus just fighting everything that's within you to kind of conquer that, which is I think the most internalized of all of the Marvel films.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of like the best part of it is like, even outside of finding yourself, you're thinking about like within the Marvel universe of just like, you know what, if we knew the title was the New Avengers, you would already fought it. You'd have been like, this is dumb. We hate this. Right. Mm-hmm. And so them kind of fighting that thing within themselves, being like, hey, let's give these people a chance who actually earned it after this movie. They earned that title of New Avengers, in my opinion. And so I loved it. I loved the movie. It was awesome. Ooh, time to wake up.
Perfect timing. We're glad you're awake. I wanted to ask you, Christina, your thoughts. We're talking about John Walker, and having talked to you in the past, you don't tend to watch the TV shows, right? So was this a new character for you, seeing him in this movie?
No, I watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I watched it immediately after the whole like Steve Rogers is gone thing. So he was not going to win with me. It didn't matter what he did. And then he had like the punchable face mask and the whole thing was like, this ain't it. I think he was much more charming in this movie than he was in that. I also think they did a great job in the Thunderbolts specifically in making everybody feel human, which obviously like, for the most part they are. But a lot of times these Avengers feel like larger than life and everything. It feels like very black and white. Like there's the good thing to do and the bad thing to do, and you will not do the bad thing. You will only do the good thing. And they're also hedgy about all of that stuff. And I think John Walker specifically is like, he tends to do the wrong thing for the right motivation, which I think is his moral compass is just like slightly off, and we don't know why that is or whatever's guiding him. But that thing is like, he's just like 5 degrees to the left. And so he's doing the thing and you're like, oh, his heart is in the right place. He's doing the thing, but it's just not quite right. And so I think that when we're seeing like his own struggle is like, he's realizing like, damn, I just can't do the right thing. What is the right thing? And he doesn't know.
Yeah. No, I think that's a perfect way to sum him up, because, you come into this and you're like, well, I know that guy. He's a real D-bag, as we said. He's the douche of the MCU. And, they definitely tug at your heartstrings a little bit. It's like, oh, his wife and kid leave him because he's being a dick. But still, he's like, can't you see I'm busy scrolling?
Yeah. My God. And then I love the close-up screenshot of just like him reading articles about himself. Like that's truly what it is. He's really more obsessed about like his image or like how people are perceiving him than how he's actually coming across. And he knows that there's some kind of distance between like what he wants to be and what he wants to show people and what he's actually doing. And it's like, oh, it's probably because you're a little bit dumb sometimes, because you just can't make that connection of how to be a good person.
But also remember, he's the one they gave the shield to.
Yeah.
And so, we know that Sam, again, now a litigious Sam, is always like, feeling like he was in the shadows a little bit, but and I'm sorry, Steve's shadow, not shadows. But then really, I mean, what we're talking about with John Walker is like, he is only gonna be in the shadow of the greatest American in history, basically.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
And so thinking in terms of like, I'm the new hero, and he got to have that man be in the mantle for about 5 minutes, and then he kills that guy, and all of a sudden he's a pariah. And so you realize like, oh my gosh, like that dude had his 15 seconds of fame and it's gone. So his bitterness is an interesting element of his character.
Yeah.
I think his bitterness is, sorry.
No, go ahead, Chris.
It's a very relatable character, because he's like every guy with daddy issues, right? So he's really just trying to just live up to this thing that he can't live up to.
Yeah.
And so every guy who had daddy issues has brooded and sat there and just looked at social media, if not, articles of social media of how you're being perceived, and just like letting people down around you. So while he's also the most the douchiest character for, unfortunately, a lot of males with issues, he's the most relatable also.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah. No, I would say he's been the most realistic douchey character. Especially I feel like one of the core moments of this movie is when they're all at the very bottom of that like basin and Florence Pugh is just like, so none of us fly? Okay. We're all basically just human. And I like that's what I love about sort of like the whole theme of this movie is like, yes, we are all human. We are all on the same platform, but if we work together, we could get up.
Yeah. And none of their plans work out. And it's always like, well, whatever, we'll jerry rig this thing and we'll figure it out. And I loved that about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that it's definitely fun to watch this lovable gang of self-proclaimed losers. And, there is sort of this idea of, like you said, Christina, sort of scraping off some of the dregs, some of the characters. You could get some real star power if Kate Bishop, was in this. Some of the characters that they're obviously saving for Avengers movies. There are plenty of other characters you could have rounded out a new team with, but it was like, yeah, I think this combination is interesting. And let's talk a little bit about Bob, aka the Sentry, which I think there were some questions about what Bob was going to be, but I think Sentry was really the thing that most of us were feeling like he was going to be. And in the chat, what do you think was done with the character of the Sentry? Was it oppressed or assassinated or used good? I think it's a mixture of some of those things. I think the Sentry is a too uber powerful character to be used, sort of in everyday usage. It's kind of like Carol Danvers in the films has been portrayed as so next level powerful. You kind of have to try to keep her out of some of these conflicts. As I talked about previously, the Sentry character sat out the comic book version of Civil War because whatever side he was on would win like instantly. I mean, it wouldn't even be a Taskmaster length of time. But I think Bob, as sort of the representation of what we've been talking about, this inner struggle and all of that. And I don't think you have to really compare him to the comic book version because you weren't going to get that. He has sort of that power set, which is very interesting. But as we already see from the end scene, he's like, I can't really do all of my stuff. I feel like he'll probably do something at some point. But let me ask you first, Cruz. What did you think of Bob / Sentry's journey throughout this film?
Yeah, I mean, Bob is essentially this new Avengers' Hulk, right? He's the OP character that has to kind of overcome it. But with the theme of all of this, like, he's so OP that he's going to destroy everything, right? And so what he was supposed to be, and what he was, again, like kind of what went through earlier, is he just wanted to be better, right? Like, again, super relatable. Everyone just wants to be better, and he failed, and they literally just tried to kill him. Just throw him away like trash. And so
there's literally I'm just going to push this button and forget about him.
Yeah. And they walked away, and like that's going to bring so much pain to someone, and that's going to and everyone's been felt like they've been thrown away before, So it's awesome. Like, what do you do someone who's so OP and you just make them feel like garbage? Well, he's going to destroy everything. And that's what I mean. Like, it's interesting how every character in this is a form of loser, if we want to think about it, right?
Sure.
And or whatever way our society defines loser. And he's like that kid who, he's like the methed out kid, the stinky kid in school who, wasn't going to have a future. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Ivan Soto pointing out, I was on meth, which was a hilarious line. Thank you.
Was a hilarious
he had great teeth for being on meth. I want
Yeah.
to say that. Yeah. Yeah.
Cruz,
That's
no
a
PR nurse.
superpower.
And skin. Mhm.
Oh yeah,
This
I'm an
superpower
ER
is
nurse,
only
by the way.
temporal.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He dabbled in meth, you know. Anyway, finish your thought, Chris.
Casual method.
I had a friend who did meth one time, and he's like, "I'm never gonna do it again." I feel like you either have like hardcore meth people, or just like, I'll try it once and then never do it again.
Yeah,
Anyways, that's going off tangent.
No, but look, I think that it's a little bit representative of the desperation of the Bob character. In college, I legitimately had a friend who was telling me how she did heroin once. I'm like, what? And she's like, oh yeah, no, that was bad.
Never again.
Yeah. So I feel like there are those things that most people are like, I don't know what got a hold of me. That's crazy stuff. Sorry, but Bob obviously, having some issues. But finish your thoughts on Bob/Sentry, Cruz.
So I guess the finishing thoughts is Bob is the guy who did meth and wanted to do better and didn't get the second chance, and the New Avengers gave him the second chance that he needed.
Right. He just, like all of us, he just needed some hugs and some friends. Christina, I hope you're going to appreciate the way I pose this question to you, because I could ask anyone this, but I'm going to ask specifically to you. What about Bob?
That was good. Okay.
There is a stupid bell.
Oh, okay, great. I was like, I don't get the reference. That's how I know I'm 100 years old, is because I got your stupid reference. But
hey,
it was. I actually am obsessed with that concept. Okay, because Captain America has been my favorite. Steve Rogers' Captain America has been my favorite from the get. And so my favorite thing about him was that the serum just took him and all of his like amazing altruism and made it bigger. And then in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they sort of addressed that a little bit. It's like, well, you can give this serum to people, but it's just going to accentuate their bad things. And then when you think about like, hey man, if you give a druggie who's a sign flipper for a pizza parlor a super serum, I wonder what it will bring about. And it's just a thing that, like, I would have never asked the question, and then seeing them ask the question, and then I'm seeing a lot of the anti-wokers online that are very like, oh, it's about mental health and all you need is a hug and that's going to solve all your problems or whatever. That's not what it is. Yeah.
Sorry.
It was just really like, we see all these heroes who magically don't have demons, or their demons are very controllable. And this is like, nah, dude, this is a very real demon that people deal with on a regular basis. And if you were given the power to be your most extreme self, most of us would be a depression demon because it's just reality. And so the fact that they just personify that, I thought was really clever. And it was just because it was something I had never thought of before.
Yeah.
If I were injected with super soldier serum, the first thing that I would do is figure out how much can I eat without gaining weight. Like, can I get 4 cheeseburgers and it's not going to be a problem? I'll just burn it off. And I'm like, okay, what about 10 cheeseburgers? And I'll find out what the answer is. Maybe it's 20. Katie, as we sort of look at this idea, and they mention it in the movie, as Christina referenced, you give super soldier serum to Steve Rogers, you get one thing. What if they gave super soldier serum to Kanye West?
Oh Jesus!
I'd be gone.
I was trying to think of the worst. I was trying to think of the worst person, keeping politics out of it, and I was like, "Oh, he's a pretty bad person."
I was just gonna say, you kind of put politics into it by mentioning Kanye.
Yeah,
but you get the most killer album, though. You're gonna get the best album.
Literally, you know what? You might be onto something.
Depends on.
Okay, if you gave it to Kanye
what genre,
10 years ago, yeah.
I mean, look, there is something to be said. Yeah, right. There's something to be said about, okay, I think I've done this before. I'm going to do it again, but not to quote a rapist or anything, but like Bill Cosby said in a joke, if you give somebody drugs and it just like exemplifies their personality, what if you're an asshole? And like, that's such a beautiful like concept, is like, if you get an enhancing drug, what exactly qualities or
Yeah.
properties of your personality are they going to expand upon? I thought it was fascinating that we get a floating Bob who says, I am nothingness.
Mhm.
And Jesus, that gave me chills. And I understand because what you're saying about everybody in the like anti-woke mob being like, oh, you just need hugs and whatnot. No, all Bob needed was to be able to connect with Florence Pugh, who's like, I've been there too. It's a
Mhm.
dark place, and you don't want to go down that road. And so a lot of the time, a lot of lines that Florence Pugh is giving to Bob's character is just get behind me, get behind. I got
Mhm.
this. I'll help you out. And then when he finally gets power, it's like he doesn't want to be behind anybody. He's just nothing. He feels like everyone sees him as nothingness, that his whole purpose is nothing. And so everyone else should be as well, because why no one's cared about him. And
Mhm.
my God, that was so profound. And I don't know the character of Sentry from the comic books. I didn't read the comics, so I'm not very familiar with that character. I agree. It is a very OP character to put in with the Thunderbolts, aka New Avengers. And they probably would not be able to take him down if it weren't for connecting on an actual human level. And I think that's one of the best things about this movie and about how they've changed some of the lore of these characters is that, like, yeah, given the right circumstances, these guys could be great, but they have been given really bad circumstances, so they have been terrible and will continue to be terrible unless somebody good intervenes and says, hey, I'm here to help you out.
Yeah, our
Not even
friend
someone
Ryan, who
good.
was hang on a second, Chris. Our friend Ryan, who was on the first half hour, he's calling back to the idea that Kanye got the super soldier serum. Imagine the uniform.
Oh
Uh,
no.
It would
I know
be
what his
see
emblem
through.
would be.
It'd be well, yeah. There's a symbol that would be on it, but it would also be see through. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to tidy that up.
No,
Cruz,
no.
I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
No, it's just like the thing is also they didn't have to be good.
Yes.
They just had to understand or just be willing to reach out, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a kumbaya thing. It was more just like, I got you, bro. Like we both suck. Let's go.
Yeah, they didn't solve his problems. They just sat in it with him.
They were
right.
Everybody was acknowledging the same level that they were all on. They were very
Mhm.
honest about how much they suck. And like they can suck, but the only person that is completely not on that level was Red Guardian, and he was just the constant cheerleader, which I really loved, because sometimes you need the person who's the constant cheerleader to take the group out of that deep dark hole as well as you're sitting on that same level.
I
Eric,
love when Bucky.
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I love when Bucky was like when he came into like he met up with everyone in the dark side or the void, and he's like, "Yeah, my past sucks. It's fine. I got past it."
Yeah.
It's such a good line.
It's true. I think we get some great Bucky moments in this movie for sure. And he apparently hated the scene where he washes his arm in the dishwasher. He's like, it's stupid. It's not funny. But I was just like, man, I always wondered how to keep that thing clean. Sebastian Stan, you might have great hair in the movie, but you don't know funny as well as my buddy Eric Connor, who now has 8 minutes left. So let's talk about Bob, Eric, and also let's talk about Red Guardian. There's a reason you have the cowl on, and so let's talk about those two before you bid us adieu.
I would put it back over my eyes for you, Cruz, but love is blindness, and so is this mask. This mask is murder on the corneas, and I need them for things like driving. So, yeah, okay, Bob. Christian, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I think Sentry had a pretty decent role in the Secret Wars from whatever it was.
The more recent Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so to go then back to the 1980s Secret Wars, it was a nice mirror of a character that you and I have talked about before, Molecule Man. Molecule Man is the most dangerous villain in the whole Marvel universe, because literally he can control molecules. I assume atoms as well. I'm not sure about the if we got into the physics of it all, but he's basically so dangerous, but he's off. He's insane. He's an emotional wreck. And so he's basically like all the more dangerous and interesting because of that. But it also means he's beatable because of it. And that was sort of Sentry, if I remember in the Secret Wars reboot. That's the kind of role he played, which you're right. He is the Captain Marvel. He's the Hulk. He's Superman. Except like Superman's got, pretty good emotional balance in his life. And Sentry does not. And I thought they really handled it well. I was bummed because, that was going to be Stephen Yeun's role. And I would have loved to have seen, because Stephen Yeun is such a great everyman that I think that, and I love the work he does in Invincible. I mean, he's always great. And I would have really liked to have seen what he brought to it, but I will give young Pullman all the credit in the world, beyond just the Nepo baby side of him. He's a very legitimate actor.
I mean, he's great. Yeah.
Listen, he's no Gandolfini, but
we're right with Gandolfini.
We don't need to talk about Michael Gandolfini. We're finally moving on from him.
We're never going to move on from Gandolfini. We never will.
True.
We shouldn't. We should always remember.
It's like how I'll never get over Macho Grande. But so let's make sure to give you time to talk about Red Guardian,
my buddy. Yes. So Red Guardian now enters the pantheon of three of my favorite Russian characters. Ivan Drago, of
course,
Nikolai Volkov, and then now him, Red Guardian. David Harbour he's had a moment now for a while. But he shows up even in that movie that we suffered through together, the Working Man. David Harbour shows up and it's his world, and we just kind of hang out in it. He brought so much of everything to this. And then, the idea of like, well, he seems the most emotionally stable, and yet you realize, well, he's a drunk.
Yeah, he's not at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also he like completely ghosted Yelena. And so, he's no saint. He's not perfect. And he does overcompensate in ways the other characters don't. Right. Like he does bring that jovial quality, but you realize, it's a big old mask for all his pain and his regret. And and I love how they kind of kept him off to the side, but when he showed up in his limo, that's the biggest laugh actually in my theater. And again, I went Tuesday, not opening weekend, but it was like that's a moment where everyone just like lost it, and we were thrilled to see him come back. David Harbour is a real treat, and he's I think he was such perfect casting, and his chemistry with Yelena. I mean, to me, it's like that's one of the great duos they now have in this Marvel universe. Now that, of course, Foggy has gone off into the fog, this is now like the great sort of non-romantic romance, so to speak, of the MCU.
It was just the family. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a perfect opportunity to share the popcorn bucket that our buddy
Oh,
Daniel
yes.
got.
And,
no way.
I prefer the Accountant 2 bucket. Have you seen that one, which is just like an Airstream or whatever it's called?
I have not seen that one, but
I'm not sure who's buying Accountant 2 popcorn buckets. It feels like a joke that one of us would make up, but no, lo and behold, Accountant 2 has swag. And it's not just patch forms. Like they literally, it's the most ridiculous thing. Look for that on the trash heap come May.
Yeah.
To be able to find it. Christian, before I roll, I had two questions I want to leave you guys with.
Yes, please.
One, could a former assassin become a congressman? And two, how is Valentina not in jail at the end of this movie? Considering they have a hell of a lot of evidence against her. So I was wondering that. So if I may, could I leave you with those thoughts?
You can leave us with this. So are you doing a first time, long time, I'll take my answer off the air? Is that what you just gave us? A sports radio take?
The blind guardian is needed elsewhere. Good day.
Thank you. Eric. Well, there's a lot that I want to cover, but let's talk about Valentina for a moment. And she does a lot of wrong in this movie, Katie. There's a lot of really bad things that happen, and they're this close to having some kind of impeachment hearing. And really, the movie doesn't clear her. But they have the press conference scheduled, which I'm not gonna lie, we've had that already in a movie, the press
Yeah.
conference ready to go. So that was like,
So,
I was
yeah.
like, all right. I mean, how many times are we gonna do that? But
Well, look,
and
she's a slippery girl, and
fair, yeah.
I would have been really disappointed after all of this time of her being in the different shows and the different films and everything and popping up every now and then. I would be really disappointed if she kind of got her end in this movie alone. I was actually very glad that that was what you just showed. It's one of my favorite things ever. But her and her character should be something that we see a couple more times.
I agree.
There should be like a united effort in order to take her down. There is not a lot of good that she is doing, but she's happening upon some good. And I think she's played to the egos of all of these characters very easily because of her position in politics, because of how slick she can be in order to get what she needs. And that feels very politician and very realistic. With how she's using that team. And I'm glad we didn't see the end of Valentina in this movie, but I have a feeling we may get that like maybe 2 movies later.
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible. Ivan Soda says Valentina isn't slippery anymore. She's screwed permanently now. Not in the world of politics, though. I think she seems like a survivor. Daniel Drew has the opposing viewpoint. Yelena wanted to keep Valentina as a non-hostage hostage. Christina, let's talk about Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Let's talk about Valentina, the character, but let's also talk about the performance. The only criticism that I really had was that she was exactly the same in every single scene. I don't expect that character to grow, but she was never scared, which maybe maybe it's a testament to who she is, Christina, that she shouldn't change. She's a constant. She's unwavering. What did you think of her, Christina?
Yeah, well, she gives off, a bit of like a sociopath or psychopath to some extent. So her not being fazed by anything that's happening around her, sort of like to be expected. Anybody who can, test on humans and then literally throw them away when it doesn't work out is like, oh, she's probably not sincerely connected with her emotions. So I sort of expected it. I also feel like whenever they hire Julia Louis-Dreyfus, it's to play Julia Louis-Dreyfus. And that's exactly who she brings. Yeah. It's like every Ryan Reynolds movie, you're seeing Ryan Reynolds. So she gave us exactly what we were hoping for, which is Veep, basically.
Yeah. And Daniel does make the point. Her void hallucination was intriguing. That
I forgot about that. Yeah,
being in the basically being downstairs when her father gets killed by some kind of shady character. Cruz, your thoughts on the great Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of acting, and so when she was in that room, I wanted to look at her face afterwards, and I wanted to see how it affected her, right? This is supposed to be when she was in her like trauma room, right? Her little trauma moment in the void. And I was like, as the actress, I was like, man, it didn't really affect her as much as I wanted it to, considering this was the beginning of her path to her, not, I wouldn't say her downfall, but like where she is in her life, right? And so, in terms of characters like her, like one of my favorite ones that's ever been portrayed is like Cecil Stedman from Invincible. Did you ever see the episode where it shows how he became the way he is? And there's a point to where she's talking about like you could either be the hero. I don't remember the exact quote, or you could actually save the world. And we're here just to save the world. Yeah. And the best iteration I've seen of that kind of character, like the Amanda Waller character, is from this Invincible show. And so what I would have loved, and this is just my preference and taste of the Valentina characters, to be someone who's like, I can see that you're trying to do good. I can see it because, like you're a little bit more relatable that way. But I guess maybe the most relatable they tried to do was to just make her Julia Louis-Dreyfus but it wasn't relatable enough. That was just my one take is.
I will say that the one line that she said where she's like, there are bad men and there are worse men felt more thematic to her justification for
I agree.
I'm going to shut my emotions off on these like traumatic things and just not have any actual feelings and just get things done.
Yeah, it's like what
That-
Yelena
that
tries
gotcha.
to do.
Yeah.
The recommendation that Yelena gives Bob, which she even admits is bad advice. Yeah, you take it and you shove it down. She's like,
Yeah.
no, these feelings get in the way of everything I'm trying to do. And
Yeah.
agrees with you, Katie. I was just thinking about that line. Oh my gosh, Soren Ringholm. These are great, Christian. Love these kinds of talks. So do I. That's why every time a Marvel movie comes out, we do 3 episodes because there's so many people whose opinion I want to get. And I also, want to make sure I tell the same jokes like 3 or 4 times. So just wait until the next one when I ask somebody else, what about Bob? But Christina, I'm not asking you that now. Let's talk a little bit about Valentina, and then we'll move it over to the father of really all of us Thunderbolts in the theater with Red Guardian. But first, let's start with Valentina for you, Christina.
Yeah, she feels like a politician, and I think that's the whole goal. That's her whole vibe. That's all we get from her, and I think it works because, like the more you look into politics or bureaucracy or whatever, there are no good guys. There are just deals being made to get things done, depending on the agenda of the person who's shaking the hand, and so she just gives us that as. I think the thing that I have questions about is like, well, who's backing her? Who's funding her? Where,
Good question.
She just has all this money. She has like, where is all this coming from? And is there somebody else who's actually pulling her strings? Or is this like, self-funded government experiment? I don't know.
My money's on Norman Osborn. No, it's a great question. Yeah, you're right. It's coming from somewhere. And again, our friend Ryan in the chat, I'm glad he remembered this. Righteousness without power is just an opinion. Was a great line.
Solid line.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll say too.
Put that on the poster. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Christine.
Yeah. No, I think that if we're going to talk about mental health, when you experience a trauma like that, when you experience a trauma like that, your whole vibe becomes trying to control what happens to you, and and that you can control your situations going forward to not experience bad things again. And so I think she has taken that tact of like, I want to control every single thing in my life, including my emotional reactions to things or lack thereof.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that the character's been interesting since, the comic book version, but since we first got to see her, and the idea that she had these relationships with all of these characters, and then realizes she needs to literally torch them, was really kind of an interesting turn of events. And everybody, nobody was surprised except for John Walker, who seemed to be like, what do you mean?
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here? Thank you. So yeah, I think I'm glad. I agree with Katie. I'm glad she's going to be around a little bit longer. Let's see how it goes, because it's very different than what Nick Fury was trying to do in Phase 1. And because Nick Fury's... Go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say, I'm actually very curious about her assistant more than her, honestly.
Well, a lot of people feel that Mel is a character named Songbird, who will be a powered individual in a future film. And it was teased in the way this wasn't the director. Somebody said, I've seen a lot of things about Mel, and some of them might be right. I think that might be something that we see. I thought that was going to be a reveal in this movie. When I did my video for Geekscape, where we tried to catch you up on all the characters, I did mention that there was talk that Mel might be Songbird. Not in this movie, maybe never, but being an assistant to that sort of a person is, something that people wear. Well, yeah, we're all in Southern California. We all get it. We might know what that feels like. As like, get me all these things, and I'm like, what? All right, Valentina, sure, no problem. But yeah, it is a good question.
We've all been a PA.
Yeah, right.
We've all heard these people.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And yes, Daniel, you're 100% right. She is wearing the bird necklace. That's yeah. But let's talk more about Red Guardian. I think this might be the last of these, but I mean, that popcorn bucket that Daniel got is really next level. Yeah.
Where does the popcorn go?
Yeah, that was just
Christina, you're asking the wrong question.
confused.
It goes in my
I mean,
belly.
It's
but-
cool, but
No, I know. Yeah, there doesn't actually seem to be a place for the popcorn.
okay, good. They're selling you a
Dan-
toy, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no,
giant
Daniel
toy.
said-
It seems.
I think it goes in the back, like the basically the roof comes off of it. I think it goes in there.
Okay.
But go ahead. We'll let Daniel tell us if that's where it goes. But yeah, it doesn't seem that practical. And how much popcorn can you really get in there? You know,
Right.
the jug of popcorn that I bought for this movie would not fit anywhere near. I need 10 of those cars. So I think we were talking earlier that David Harbour really just was able to shine along with Yelena in the Black Widow movie. This is clearly, in terms of them, it's their sequel. They really get a lot of great screen time in here. I'm not complaining about any of it. And he's got most of the best lines in the movie, Christina, doesn't he?
You know what's so funny? I have a good friend who does cosplay, and he literally has made his whole personality now the Red Guardian. Like, he's like a bald dude with a beard, and he does the whole cosplay, and he has taken it over. And I'm like, oh yes, the Red Guardian was like the unsuspecting comedic relief, because like, yes, he's funny and he's meant to be funny, but the movie wasn't meant to be funny. And so the fact that he just keeps sprinkling it throughout, that limo scene was the funniest part of the whole movie. When he rolls up in a limo and saves the day, we were laughing hysterically. And I brought my 13-year-old son, who's like, he's not a riot, we'll just say. And even he was giggling throughout that whole scene. I think I don't know if you guys ever saw, but David Harbour did an SNL sketch where he was Oscar the Grouch.
No.
Oh
And I'll
yeah.
send it to
Okay,
That's when it
but-
flipped for me, that I was like, oh, he's actually really funny. And I just don't think he gets put in comedic roles as often. But yeah, he lives it. He lives the Red Guardian. I love him in the suit because clearly it's like doesn't really fit him anymore, and he's still rocking it. I love it.
Yeah, I love that he still has it. And Yelena being embarrassed by her dad was adorable.
I love it.
It says Daniel says it's the rest. And because we were asking, yes, the roof comes off of that stretch limo, and that's where the popcorn goes. Cruz, your thoughts on David Harbour in this movie, but also the fact that he's the Red Guardian. There's Timu Captain America, but then he's like, I don't know, he's like mail order Captain America from Russia. And then like Bucky is, I don't know, evil Captain America. There's a lot of variations on Captain America. And technically, I mean, Sentry basically goes through a Captain America process. So there's a lot of Captain Americas in this movie, but we're talking about the Red Guardian, who's basically
Red Guardian.
He's Captain Russia.
He's Captain USSR. Let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you were wondering how many cheeseburgers you could have if you got the super soldier serum. I think we can see it in the Red Guardian. I mean, like he looks like he has like 10 cheeseburgers a night.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But it also could have been it could have been the Timu super soldier serum that he took. So it could have been that too.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think.
And also I wanted to say, David Harbour is funny in Stranger Things. He's really funny on that show. I mean, like, it's not even, well, it is meant to be a funny show because, yeah, there's some comedy in it to it. But yeah, his Oscar the Grouch was awesome. It was like gritty and scary.
Yeah. Super dark. Yeah.
Super dark.
Mm-hmm.
I did see that sketch now. I forgot it was the digital short where he's like in the streets of actual New York.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
right. That was
he's like kicking ass and taking names as Oscar the Grouch.
We forgot about that.
But thinking about how the Red Guardian and Elena's relationship kind of like blossomed into it, I was like, oh man, he's gonna die, isn't he? That's the realization.
You gotta have somebody to cry about. Yeah.
He gonna die. He's gonna die. Now that you guys pointed out how good the relationship is, he gonna die. I'm so sorry. That makes me sad already.
Well, and I don't think that Marvel has really tapped into like a parent-child dynamic before, and that is so relatable to just like, it didn't matter how old either of them were. They were still in their same roles. She was irritated by him. She was embarrassed by him. He didn't care. And that dynamic was just like transitioned throughout the whole movie where people were like, yep, been there.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's been more sort of in like an actual parental way. Obviously, Tony Stark being a father in Endgame factors into the whole like, no, we're not gonna do the thing that would make the most sense and undo these last 5 terrible years because I have a daughter. And then also that it factors in with Scott Lang because he's like, oh, my daughter's this little girl. Like, oh my God, she's an adult now. So but you're right, sort of this dynamic we don't really get this, the LeBron and Bronny Jr. being on the same team.
Yep.
That's exactly what it is. And I feel like David Harbour would at least occasionally make some free throws. In any case, so obviously there's a lot of talk about what comes next. We see that scene at the end of the film, which was actually shot by the Russo brothers on the set of Avengers Doomsday. So that sequence was filmed like 2 weeks before the movie came out. So the director, Jake Schreier, says that he was there on set, just to sort of like consult, like, oh yeah, these are the way these characters act. It was like a courtesy that he was there. So it's obviously setting that up. And we do get the big reveal of, hey, what's that ship coming over there? And it's got the big 4 on it. And Katie, what did you think when you saw that 4?
I was like, let's go. I'm also super hyped for Fantastic Four in general because it's coming out Comic-Con weekend, and that's also my birthday weekend, and it's like, it's gonna be great. I know it's gonna be great. July rules.
Oh, that's why you want us to have dinner down at
dinner at my parents' house.
Yeah, because it's your birthday, and if I haven't seen Fantastic Four yet, I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm going to have to go to the movie. No.
It's supposed to come out on like Thursday or Friday or something like that. And then
the movie will be in theaters Thursday at 3 p.m., Katie.
Okay, well, I was thinking about dinner for all the Geekscape game on Wednesday night after preview.
Wait, when do you guys eat dinner? I eat dinner about 4:30. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
We'll grab a snack, Christian.
Take a nap.
But I got very excited that we finally get a little tease of like where the Fantastic Four is coming into this universe, how they're going to connect into this universe. I mean, further example that the Fantastic Four universe is done. So I'm wondering, my one question to you all is, what point of the Fantastic Four does their entire world or universe just completely die? What point in that movie? Yeah, they're definitely
right before the credits when Galactus is pretty much done with eating the planet. Yeah, it seems like they'll escape because it's like in the trailer they're all like, are you going to be able to stop this? Are you going to be able to help us? And they're like, I don't know. And the answer is no, you're not. But there is also a possibility that they could be coming to get help for their universe, which hasn't been destroyed yet. I don't think that's likely, but I've seen that theory put out there. But I also got the idea: what if Doom has their ship, and that's Doom in there, and we don't see the Fantastic Four until maybe later? I don't think that's it. But I think what Katie said, that's what I was thinking as I was seeing that scene. Like, yeah, Fantastic Four, their Earth is going to get eaten pretty quickly by Galactus. It doesn't take them that long. But
big guy, got a big mouth, and maybe he took some serum. I don't know.
Efficient eater.
Yeah, right, exactly. But what were your thoughts, Christina? Because obviously, we've had a number of iterations of the Fantastic Four previously. Never a particularly strong one. I'll admit. I usually talk about how the first one by Roger Corman was the best one, and that's still not entirely untrue. But are we going to care about these characters? And Katie's question: their Earth is toast, right?
Yeah, listen, Marvel has done a great job of making the universe thing hedgy. And then like Multiverse of Madness, where they're like, oh, well, this Earth is this, and this Earth is this. And you're just like, oh, I mean, they could go to any iteration of whatever version of Earth that they're on. I think that the casting I don't know. I feel like
Really?
they keep throwing Pedro Pascal into things because he's really popular right now. And then, you watch Gladiator 2 and you're like, oh, was he the best choice for this whole thing?
Gladiator 2 should not be considered in any
No,
of these.
I
I
Gladiator
don't
2 is one of the
know.
best movies I've seen this year. He's fine in it. Gladiator 2 was think about the
Christian,
movies that
what?
did I say it's
Sure.
better than Sinners? No. I just said
Okay.
it's one of the better movies I've seen this
Yeah.
year,
Ugh.
Wow, that's a take. on.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings when they just keep revamping the same. Like I feel this similarly about Hulk, that they just can't let it die. They just keep revamping it every new different direction. So I'm really hopeful that with this current set of writers and the skill set that Marvel has and all that stuff, that they're going to do a good job of storytelling and integration. But I don't know. I don't know how many more bad versions of Fantastic Four we could take before we're like, you know what, it's okay. We'll just give this up already.
Probably 3 or 4.
Probably.
By the way, he was not able to save Wonder Woman in 1984. That was already a sinking ship by the time he showed up. I tend to like him, but I do know what you're saying, Christina. We are getting a lot of Pedro Pascal right now.
Mhm.
At least in Mandalorian, he's usually got a helmet on, so you can kind of like, all right, I don't have to gaze into those eyes as much. What are your thoughts about the upcoming Fantastic Four?
Cruise.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. I literally got a text at exactly
Teamwork.
the wrong time
Teamwork.
that I had to read. Thank you for finishing my sentence.
Before we saw the Fantastic Four up there, I had to comment, like, Bucky's hair was kind of ridiculous. It was a little kind of I couldn't have been the only person who looked at Bucky's hair and I was like, they kind of like volumed it up and made it really, I don't know. I just didn't like his hair. I had to comment on that.
Well, he's bald right
it's a
now,
wig.
as we saw. Yeah, that's definitely a wig.
Yeah.
It's a big old wig?
why. Yeah, we showed a video earlier of him putting up posters and his head is completely shaved right now. So it's definitely a wig. And you're 100% right though. Yeah.
I was super happy to see it. Not to say I didn't see it coming. I was like, I bet I'm gonna bet it's Fantastic Four. And I was like, oh, they lost. They lost really hard. That's why they're here. And in terms of, I love Pedro Pascal because he's like, and this is the commentary on just society. He's the only one of the few minorities that's still banking in money and can still pull off the look of Reed Richards, right?
Yeah,
because he pulls off the hair, the white on the side, and I'm like, can I think of any other minority that can pull that off right now? Who the studios would bank on would make money? And I'm like, I can't think of anyone, unfortunately. And they wouldn't take a chance on a no name. I don't think so, at least.
Not for the 40th reboot of Fantastic Four.
Yeah. And also, I just learned that Steven Yeun was supposed to be the Sentry, and I was like, oh man, that would have been nice to have an Asian on that team. That would have been fucking great.
Yeah.
Because I was just looking at it, I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, it would have made sense to have Steven Yeun. He did great with that part.
Well, I was thinking about especially the pre-Sentry part, because you feel like, oh yeah, this guy was a loser on Beef, and I feel like I've seen him play a very similar character to that. But anyway,
he loses hard on The Walking Dead. He loses
very hard.
He loses his head.
Too soon, Cruz. Too soon.
Yeah, come on.
I will never get over it.
R.I.P. Glenn. Pour one out for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really excited for it. I do think that like the way they've been doing the trailers for the Fantastic Four, it's like a perfect 50s. If America, I'm not gonna get into politics. It's a perfect 50s look. What's up?
Yeah, sure.
If things went well, scientifically speaking.
Yeah, in the 50s, it's exactly the way it should be, and which is why I think they're gonna lose really hard, and that's why I'm looking forward to a little bit of like death and destruction. and they're
probably not going to be a very bright movie after the first 15. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think it's a whole movie to set up for the next Avengers, and that's going to be dope.
Interesting, William Walton. I'm hoping that in Doomsday or Secret Wars we get a team up of all 4 live action Fantastic Fours. I can't think of anything less likely to happen. but it's look, we did get to see Chris Evans as Johnny Storm again.
Yeah.
Wolverine.
If we get another movie with twin Michael B. Jordans, mwah,
Hey.
he'd be Johnny
Yeah.
Storm again, and then he would be Killmonger.
Right. No, exactly. Yeah.
That'd be
And there's I feel like it's unlikely. That wasn't like
Super
putting all three
unlikely.
Spider-Men into a movie. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
there was demand, there was interest in that. But look, I like to hope that we will indeed get a good batch of Fantastic Four. We'll get a good Fantastic Four movie. Finally, it will have taken a while. I want to touch on two final things. I mentioned this. I shouted it out in the intro that they use the song from the 80s by Starship, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now, which asks the important question: does this film exist in the Mannequin and Mannequin 2 on the Move cinematic universe? Because the songs in both of them,
I hope.
and I can't show the video for that because there's music and there's all that. But the video for the song features band members turned into mannequins at the end. And I would just say that I would love to get a shot-by-shot remake of this with characters from the Thunderbolts. And I know that it's not going to happen. You know what? It's more likely than getting all the Fantastic Four. But it was just such a funny song because it's very corny. I mean, that era of, you'd never believe that that's Jefferson Starship who did White Rabbit. But anyway, so
I love the song. I love the movie. I love everything. I love that they used it. I love it all. I loved it.
Yeah. Well, and
Love it.
unfortunately, the great Meshock Taylor, who played Hollywood in those films, has passed on. So he would not have been able to share the screen. But I just thought it was funny, and it is sort of perfect to sum up those characters with that song. I thought it was funny.
And when you think like the Deadpool and Wolverine scene where they use Like a Prayer,
sure, yeah,
that has shot Like a Prayer through the roof. It brought them so much attention, and I'm curious if they were like, well, let's see if we could strike gold again with like sort of a reminiscent feel of things.
Oh yeah, well that could be.
Yeah.
Look, it's a fun throwback, and I know that it was in one of the trailers. So yeah, that's certainly fun. And there was one other thing that I wanted to highlight. Mostly, I have to do a little bit of setup to this, but on the red carpet, there was an interaction between cast members of Thunderbolts, and one of the most we were talking about unlikable celebrities, but obviously everyone likes to know what the Rizzler is up to. So the Rizzler shows up on the red carpet and dressed as Red Guardian, and he gets to take some pictures with the cast, and there he is. And what I love about Lewis Pullman is actually like legitimately excited to interact with the Rizzler. He's like doing his like.
I was gonna call you the Red Rizzler. Oh, dude,
The Red Rizzler.
And he unmasks himself. Anyway, so that all leads in to the moment where I guess this is a day later. And I am just trying to make sure I find it. And Julie Louis Dreyfus is asked about this.
For meeting the Rizzler last night.
Who knew?
Literally, who knew?
Yeah.
Do you know he's gone kind of like viral for that picture?
I really didn't know that. And no offense to that nice child, but I didn't know who he was. So there you go.
I mean, you guys looked very friendly, so I'm sure he'll be completely fine.
Yeah, he was pretty cute because he showed me his moves. Because he's dressed like Red Guardian, so I said, "Show me your Red Guardian moves," not knowing that he was the Rizzler.
Allegedly.
Allegedly the Rizzler.
Big night for the both of you.
Yes, exactly.
So I thought that interaction was
care
very
less
funny.
about that kid.
No, I know, but she's like, "Oh, I guess that kid's famous." And in the chat earlier, there were some comments about the press tour for Thunderbolts. has a number of pretty wild interactions. I want to highlight this one because I feel like in this one, Florence Pugh, we started with a very serious one where she was being very thoughtful about the movie. This is the one where it reminds me of, I think In Touch magazine used to have a page that said celebrities, they're just like us.
I know
And
you're a bit of a
they still
foodie,
are.
and
Yeah.
I've heard you like cheese.
What have you got for me?
This is my favourite cheese in the world, girl.
Oh, babe.
It's so
Oh,
It's a strong, mature cheddar.
up.
You know,
3-year-old Cornish cheddar vintage. Oh,
number 7 on the scale.
We're gonna have to open it, I reckon.
Oh, we're getting into it.
She's not waiting. She cracks it open.
That's what would be.
I'm just gonna bite the cheese.
Do it.
That's what we're gonna do.
I love this video
My
so
life
hard.
is made. Good, right?
The little bits of the crunchy.
Yes.
Go get it, guys.
Don't worry, I
That
will.
cheese
Yeah.
more than anything.
So-
Yeah, a friend of mine who we're both big cheese lovers sent me that, and I was like, "Oh my god, I don't even know what cheese that is, but I want it."
Well, I didn't want to specifically say. I know Katie's going to relate to this because I'm very pro cheese as well. I know it's a hot take in 2025
I know.
to be pro
Tough.
cheese.
Yeah.
In any case, this has been a fun conversation talking about the movie, and we had a little bit of a revolving door. But Cruz, it was great to get to meet you in the thick of things and throw you right in to talking about all of this. Do you have any final thoughts on Thunderbolts before I ask if you have anything to promote?
Final thoughts are they took a swing in terms of how a commentary on like storytelling wise, right? It wasn't about some big bad like thing that a bunch of fans were going to go see because it's Thanos or it's the World Eater, right? It was
Sure.
the swing was like to make it about ourselves and looking into ourselves, and it paid off. So that's my final thoughts: is good job, and I'm very happy with it.
And you're on social media at Brian Philip Cruz, from what I see
That's
on
right.
the screen. And so
Yeah,
if
and-
people want to continue the conversation, they'll find you there.
Yeah, if they want to continue, find the conversation there. Also, I guess if are we pitching shows?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm doing a show on Friday, produced by women for women called The Female Gaze, and basically it's a show that's kind of it's about powerful women and beautiful men that just want to tell women that they're perfect. So if you want to come and support women, feel free to come to the show. It's at the Pack Theater at 10 o'clock. And I'll be there. And if you want to talk more Thunderbolts or New Avengers or anything Marvel or geek or anything, I'm here for it. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And Christina, where can people find the Wisecracking Blonde?
I'm just about everywhere. If you just Google Wisecracking Blonde, you'll find me and then some lady from like the 30s who I think was an actress. So you can differentiate between the two of us. And I'm the one who looks like me.
Oh, okay. Well, thank
Yeah.
you for that. By the way, Ryan again says that we need that cheese that Florence Pugh had on some Skyline chili. And Ohm says, I hate cheese, but if she likes it, then I shall have it too. I hating cheese, I can't even wrap my head
I don't
around.
even
I feel like you have
understand.
to be lactose intolerant if you hate cheese. Like
I-
it's got to be because
I am lactose intolerant and I love cheese.
I know.
He's like, don't let that
Love
stop
that.
you.
I love that combination. Yeah, exactly. That's like, yeah, I'm celiac, but boy, do I love bagels. Katie Hampton, apart
Yes.
from regularly being on these shows, where can people find you?
You can always find me all across Geekscape, but you can always find me at El Sassy Pants, where I sometimes coherently post what I'm doing lately. But stick around on the Geekscape channel, guys. We've got Internet Supreme Court coming up later today. I am very excited about it. We've got special guest James Thorpe coming on. And then next week, we have one of my good friends, Michaela Pettigrew, coming on Internet Supreme Court next week. But we judge memes. It's hilarious. Lots of dumb bits. And we talk about the zeitgeist. So yeah, just find me. I'll be posting stuff.
It's a very busy day here on the Geekscape YouTube channel because we just did this show for 90 minutes. And then in just under 1 hour, at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. We'll be doing our Andor wrap up of episodes 7, 8, and 9. Ryan will be back, hopefully with some Skyline chili, and our buddy David Brody will be there, and we'll be done in time for Internet Supreme Court. So don't you worry, Katie. We'll do that. And we'll be doing one more episode of this with a new panel talking about Thunderbolts. I'm going to do a lot more listening in that one. I'll be like, what do you guys think? And then I'll take a nap. and then I'll go, show's over. And we have one more Andor recap after this one. So, and we'll make sure that Katie's on that one, because there's going to be a lot to talk about. There's already a lot to talk about, and we still get 3 more. Thank you. You can find me on social media at Christian DMZ. And my personal podcast, The Blackcast, BLADTCAST. That's all the time we have for now. As the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior!